Welcome, Reds, to the 100% United podcast. Fresh off another big game victory. I'm your host, TC, and here's your co-host, Scott. Hey, Scott, how you doing, buddy?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm fantastic, mate. Another big game win, eh?
Another big game. Another big performance, wasn't it?
It was indeed. And United continue to confuse everybody, beating the big teams and struggling against the smaller teams. VAR, Scott, your old friend, helped us out. What do you make of it?
You know, it was funny. Watching it, it was just one of those, the more we played, the more confidence you had that we were going to get something out of the game. Until the last 15, 20 minutes, when that Giroud goal went in, I thought, oh God, here we go. Too little too late, wasn't it?
It was, and to be honest, when the Giroud goal went in, I was waiting for an offside call. I did sense he was offside, but it was marginal. So, but we will get to VAR in a second. First of all, we'll have a look at the lineup of the formation and Ollie's tactics again against the big sides. A big name, obviously, that stood out when the lineups came out was Eric Bailly in a back three alongside Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw, and it was great to see Eric back, wasn't it?
It was. I'm not really buying that it's a solid back five with Brandon Williams. I think, in fact, Brandon Williams played more of a left winger.
Yeah.
And I actually quite like the formation. I think it works for these bigger games. We saw it. I think he sort of introduced it last year away at Paris.
Yeah.
And if anything, Luke Shaw, you know, as we've said, he doesn't really have the tenacity or the acceleration for a proper wing back anymore. So a left-sided centre back is actually quite suits him, I think.
Well, it does it as long as the other two centre backs are dominating in the air, which they did, Maguire and Bailly. You don't want Shaw to be marking people regularly in the box there, do you? You want you want him out to the left, but it worked again, didn't it? I mean, obviously, Aaron Wan-Bissaka on the right. You would say he is a traditional right back rather than a wing back, but he's growing into that role, isn't he?
He is. Another fantastic performance. Just didn't stand down to any tackle. Don't think anyone really got past him. Just coming on leaps and bounds, isn't he? Yes,
he is indeed. And another part of the team that has been criticised, the midfield zone. It looks like, with Matic and Fred and Bruno Fernandes there, it's looking like it's got a bit of balance there, Scott.
It does. And Fred is it's going from strength to strength at the moment, isn't he? He can't seem to put a foot wrong.
Yeah.
And the thing I loved about Bruno was how he was off the ball. He was tracking back a lot.
Yeah.
And when passes didn't necessarily get to him, he was getting frustrated, getting disappointed. He wanted to be on the ball more. Beautiful to see that, isn't it?
Yeah, Matic is looking more like the title winner that we signed. Now he's got a bit more movement around him and a bit more solidity behind him and a bit more creativity in front of him.
Yeah, I think the problem with Matic was that he was playing every week and 90 minutes every week. And we got to remember he's what, 32, 33? And I think his minutes are now being reduced a bit and his performances are increasing because of it.
And he was on the ball too much before, wasn't he? He was having to play make from that deep role too much, and now that's not his role, is it?
No, it's not. Now it just seems like he's going to get it, give the ball to Bruno, and see what Bruno can do.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And obviously Danny James and Anthony Martial are up there as well. Sort of in a fluid positions really. Picking up Danny James, picking up the sort of right position. Getting close to Martial when he could, and Martial as the spearhead. Again, Ollie seems to get his tactics all right against the big teams. What do you think of that front two as well?
Well, listen, I think Martial is probably the most clinical big game finisher we have, so we had to have him in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Dan James is probably the best defensive forward we have. And when we're playing away at Chelsea, we need to press.
Yeah.
Especially when they got Christensen and Rudiger at the back, because maybe they dilly on the ball a bit.
Yeah.
So I think it was a great selection. I don't think anyone would have pressed as much as Danny James, and I thought he had a good game as well. He really chucked himself into some tackles.
Yep.
Did his bit for the team, and I know the stats aren't really showing it for him at the moment, but I thought he had another good game.
Well, we're not setting up to benefit his attacking style and his attacking talents, but like you say, he is willing to work. He is so rapid. So he is doing a job, and yeah, his stats will suffer, but the team didn't suffer. So that is the main thing. Always the team is the main thing.
If you would ask me who I would prefer in there between him and Alexis Sanchez, it's a no question. I think he does the job that we wish Sanchez would do in just the effort and the just putting his head down and knuckling down for the team.
Yeah, well, Sanchez was invisible in attack and defence. So, as long as Daniel James is doing his defensive bit and keeping people honest as well, that pace is always going to, he might not be affecting teams so much on the ball, but you always have to worry about him. You can't leave space in behind. I mean, let's get to the talking points. As I said, Scott, VAR dominated the talking points after the game. The main talking point, well, one of two main talking points of the first half, Harry Maguire went down on the touchline there by Michy Batshuayi. And on first look, Scott, I had my head in my hands, I must say. I thought he was gone.
I did too. I've got to say, TC, you've butchered a few names in the past, but who did he tackle?
I thought I got spot on. Wasn't my pronunciation good?
I don't know. A while ago, you surprised me with something, and I don't know. But Batshuayi,
I think it's perfect, wasn't it?
Good enough.
Anyway, Harry Maguire, I got that one right.
I think Roy Keane was spot on. I thought his personality got him out of it. I think if Roy Keane had done that tackle, he would have been off before he was off the ground.
You know what, Scott? I said exactly the same thing. Yeah. And then Keno stole my thunder. I was like, yeah, he's a mild-mannered lad. He's a likable lad. I said if it was someone with a history of violence, maybe Roy Keane, he would have been gone. It was blatant, mate. It was a red card every day of the week. We have to be honest. And the crazy thing is, when they went up to VAR, I thought, well, he's toast. He's got to be toast now.
Me too. The thing that surprised me was Frank Lampard's reaction. He was saying to Batshuayi, get up. And for me, it was, I was definitely head in hands moment.
It was. I mean, I loved Harry Maguire's explanation as well. It's great, wasn't it?
Yeah.
After the game, I thought he was going to fall on me. And I watched the replay. He wasn't falling on him at all. Mm-hmm. And I had to extend my leg. And I've got studs on the end of my boots. It was brilliant. But we'll take it, Scott. And I don't know how we got away with it, but we did. And then, as you say, just before half-time, Aaron Wan-Bissaka thought he couldn't attack, Scott.
Yeah, I think we've been saying that.
Unbelievable, right?
Wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And it was just funny because Willian had been booked a couple of minutes earlier, hadn't he, for diving over Bruno Fernandes, which I thought I was actually worried about that too.
Yeah.
But it was wonderful to see Wan-Bissaka completely skin Willian over there and show him how to do it without diving.
He really did, didn't he? Yeah. He really did. And delivery superb. And you have to say Anthony Martial took it just beautifully.
Yeah, I think Christensen was still seeing stars. He had been hit in the head a minute earlier, but what a wonderful header. It wasn't lucky, was it? He knew exactly what he was doing.
No.
Wonderful finish.
Glanced it in.
Exactly why he was in the starting lineup.
Yeah. And past Caballero in goal, you have to say, Scott, I mean, they've got a 75 million quid goalkeeper on the bench. What's going on there?
Doesn't get talked about, does it? Doesn't get talked about.
It doesn't. And the thing is that, it's not as if Willie's is a great keeper himself. So, Kepa is good with his feet.
Clangayero.
Kepa's good with his feet, and I tell you what, that's dangerous move from Lampard, because when the powers that be have bought a player for 75 million and you're benching him, he could be making a little bit rod for his own back there, Lampard.
He didn't buy him though, in fairness, did he?
No, but the club did. They spent all that money, and when it comes to selling him, they're not going to get 75 million back, are they?
If you look at, I mean, listen, this isn't a Chelsea podcast, but if you do look at the last, I think he's conceded 3 goals out of the last 4 shots on target, and 2 of them were just chucking them in.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So listen, I was definitely glad to see Caballero in there instead of Kepa, because if anything, after keeper's had a few clangers, he likes to come back and have a good performance, and it's usually against United, right? So I was glad to see that Caballero was in there.
Yeah. So VAR saved us again, Scott. What do you make of that one? No. So look, people are saying that Fred has pushed. Well, am I going to say his name? And the Spanish fullback.
Go on, give it a go.
It committed an obvious foul, right? It was an obvious foul, and let's not mess around it. Fred's push was not a penalty.
No, it definitely wasn't.
That was a nudge.
And when you're trying to defend for a corner, and you got to remember, in slow motion, everything looks so much worse, right? But in real time, that wasn't a push, that wasn't a shove.
No way. And look, if he had kept his hands down and just barged in, he could have got away with it. But
probably.
But he obviously pushed him, and I have to say that was a rightfully disallowed goal.
Yeah,
it really was.
Yeah. I was a bit worried, though. I was a bit worried because, as we've known, I think the VAR is there to add a bit of drama, and if anything, an equaliser would have added a bit of drama to that game. So I was lucky to see that they at least, I don't know, had the balls to make the right decision.
I was stunned, Scott, because your words popped back into my head, and I thought, are they going to again start directing this football game? But they didn't, to be fair, and I thought it was the right decision.
Mm-hmm. But I would have honestly been understood if they'd given a penalty.
Yes, yeah.
To be honest,
yeah, to get them out of,
because it was under VAR.
Yeah,
scrutiny,
get himself out of jail.
Yeah.
And then what do we say when he signed, Scott? I said Bruno Fernandes is going to start getting Harry Maguire scoring. We finally got someone who can take a corner. What a beauty, eh?
Oh, it took him, 3 corners to finally put one in the middle. The first few were short corners, and it took Delot, who was warming up on the sideline, to say, guys, chuck it in the middle. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, might as well stick this one in.
Well, you know what? We also had a near post flick on from one of his corners, which I enjoyed. It wasn't a great flick on, but it was a bit of variety. Mm-hmm. But that corner, proper in swinger, Maguire bullet header, and he loved that just a little bit, didn't he?
Yeah, and it's just written in the stars that someone who should have been sent off an hour earlier comes back to score the second.
Yeah, it was superb stuff, and great scenes in front of the away end there as well, I must say, in front of the United boys. Did you see Maguire's messages to his bro on the morning of the game?
I did, yeah. I wonder how many times he sent that text, though.
He's like me predicting Maguire to score first, isn't he?
Yeah, as many times as you've sent me the text, yeah. You watch coming in the back post. You've been sending that since September.
Well, now we've got someone to take a corner, mate. I think we're going to see a few more.
I wonder if you'd actually check the date of that, if that was actually sometime in August or in September,
exactly.
And he's just been sitting on it.
Yeah, it might well have been. So Lampard threw on Olivier Giroud, and it looked like he'd pulled one back. But again, VAR stepped in. Now, lots of people have been saying, United, Varchester United, all the rest of it. But to be honest with you, I put my hands up. Harry Maguire should have been sent off. But the 2 disallowed goals, they were rightfully disallowed, I thought.
Yeah, they definitely were. Yeah,
they really were. And Willian's dive, he went over, he landed on his feet, and then dived. Yeah. And that's when you get given those decisions, because it is a dive. I mean, you might have been touched, but you were trying to milk it.
I think I have to say though, TC, we criticise referees when we get rubbish calls.
Yeah,
and they miss things, but I have to say, I did feel as though the referee was leaning towards us a bit this game.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. I think we were just getting a few advantage calls and a few just too much of the rub of the green. If you ask me, I think if the shoe was on the other foot, we would have been going crazy.
Fair enough. I mean, he is from the Manchester area, isn't he, Anthony Taylor?
Yeah.
So
I just had to say it.
Yeah, no, we always try and be fair, and we have a little giggle when it goes our way as well, don't we?
Not as much of a giggle than watching Frank Lampard
after the game.
No, I think it was when Giroud's goal got disallowed, and he struck back in his chair and folded his arms, and he looked like a 5-year-old boy who's just taking away his sweets.
He was fantastic value, I must say, on Monday night. He, during the game, in his interview after the game, he rabbited on and on and on and on. And Roy Keane was having a giggle at him as well. It was really good to see, because obviously Lampard was having a blooming good run at the start, and now he's realising it's not as easy once you've settled in as he thought.
It must be as well quite frustrating to be coming up against a manager like Solskjaer, who's been given so much criticism, saying he's not the man for the job, blah blah blah, and you can't score a goal past him, let alone beat him.
And Lampard's getting a bit of a free run, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
Of course, he didn't have a transfer window, but I mean, we don't know if it's Ollie's fault or the powers.
They did just have a transfer window, and they didn't sign anyone.
Yeah, but they missed out on the summer one, didn't they?
Yeah, but they did just have one and didn't use it. So I'm not buying this.
Yep. And it seems to be levelling out between the two of them anyway. Less percentage again in a victory, Scott. Again, I'm not sure if this is a sustainable long-term plan. Always, ceding possession and still winning all these big games. As long as it lasts, I'll have a smile on my face. But long term, I'm not sure it is a plan. And we will have a little chat about Ollie after your favourite part of the pod. You got man of the match for me?
Oh, it's tough. I got a few. I know everyone wants to give it to Bailly.
Oh, God. You know what, actually, we just have a little chat about Eric Bailly before. I mean,
I told you he's going to be the best foil to Maguire.
Yeah, it's always made sense that. I mean, I think we should have kept Chris Smalling, and he would have been real useful in the meantime with Bailly injured. but Bailly's got a higher ceiling, and some of the stunts he was pulling. I mean, that turn in the box, that was absolutely outrageous.
Yeah, but what about him losing the ball he lost the ball at halfway line, and they almost scored in the second half as well. So don't forget that. There is a good and the bad.
And also that sliding block, Scott.
Oh, forget it.
Come off it. Oh, absolutely outrageous. He was loads and loads of fun. He was the Bailly we thought we were getting after a few games. Crazy, but wonderful.
Well, let's hope that now he's actually playing with someone who's making the decisions for him, if you know what I mean. He's the Vidic playing next to Rio.
With centre-backs, I think the partnership's so key. It's rare you get a centre-back who can just, play with any partner. And I think, like you say, Maguire benefits from having someone like Bailly alongside him, and Bailly benefits from having someone like Maguire alongside him. And I must say, Maguire's grown into that captaincy role as well. He seems to be taking responsibility more and more, and leading the team like his armband says he should.
He is. I think he's maybe transitioned a bit slower than we would have expected an £85 million defender to transition, but slowly but surely he's getting there, isn't he? And I think that, defensive partnerships, they've got to complement each other as well as striking partnerships. You can't have two strikers out there identical to each other. Similarly, you can't have two centre-backs identical. And if anything, I maybe think Lindelof and Maguire are a bit similar. They're more cerebral defenders instead of raw talent and raw aggression and pace that I think Bailly brings.
Yeah.
So anyway, he could have definitely been my man of the match, but I would have given it to Fred again. I thought Fred was fantastic.
He was wonderful, Fred. Did you like when he was protecting Anthony Martial when Martial was on the floor?
Loved it.
No one shall pass. This is my teammate, and that's it.
Yeah.
I'd actually go with the official man of the match. I'd go with Bruno Fernandes.
Right.
I think he's just made such a difference to this team already, hasn't he?
He has. Yeah, definitely has.
It's really, really nice to see. And also nice to see Maguire after the game saying that he's brought that leadership that we talked about when he signed.
Mm-hmm.
We said we thought we were getting a leader with a bit of passion. And he's doing exactly what it says on the tin.
He is. The only thing that would have put the cherry on the top would have been an Akalo debut goal.
The first Nigerian ever to play for Manchester United. There's a massive, massive support in Nigeria and for the pod. And when he came on, it was great to see. It was like, he's a United fan coming on, magic moment. And it was Fred who slipped him in. And I thought for all the world he was going to score and we were going to go absolutely crazy. It was a real shame, wasn't it, Scott?
It was. I think he needs to get off the Luke Shaw fizzy drink diet for a couple of weeks, but I think he'll be all right.
But the poor guy hasn't been allowed in Carrington for 2 weeks to start with. I was wondering why they didn't post a picture of him in the shirt when he first signed. Normally, you go to Carrington and you get it all done. So he was banned from Carrington for a couple of weeks because that's the period, obviously, that you have to leave to make sure the virus hasn't been carried. We've got hundreds of people at training ground, of course, but he was obviously doing his fitness work in Manchester, and now he's got on the field. And look, you have to say it was good movement to get in behind there, and he did hold the ball up well in his short time on the pitch as well.
He did, he really did, and actually his chance did come from Fred winning the ball back in the attacking third again, which he did. We haven't even mentioned Bruno's free kick that he hit the post. Which amazingly they didn't count as a shot on target. Apparently we only had 2 shots on target.
But a post isn't the target.
Or 2 shots on goal. But 2 shots on goal, they said.
Yes.
Which I found surprising.
Yeah, that is weird.
He did win he won the ball back right there on the corner. I thought that could have been a penalty as well, but
did they say we had 2? Because Igalo had a shot on goal as well, didn't he?
Well, it was before Igalo's chance. A ticker came up on the top. It was just after we had scored the second goal. It said, United score with their second shot on goal.
We know stats are crazy from a few pods ago, didn't we, when we were talking about the younger scorers for United?
Yeah.
Stats are only as good as the people who dig them out, I suppose.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'd actually, so I go for Bruno and you for Fred with the man of the match. Rare we disagree on the man of the match, isn't it, Scott? I normally just go with you, don't I?
No, it was one of those weeks I could have given out a bunch of them.
We really could, and those are the weeks we want.
Yeah.
Rather than when we're scraping around. Another clean sheet for De Gea as well.
Yeah.
And he really has settled down again, hasn't he?
Just for the back 4 or the back 5, we've got so few clean sheets this year. And if you look back at 2008, 2009 seasons that we were dominating, it came from having a fantastic defence. I think we went 12, 13 games that year without conceding. I think that's really where our success has always come from, is having a really solid defence. So we really need to get back onto that.
And Chelsea, the ones struggling with the clean sheets, aren't they? Dear me. So listen, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, it's just Jekyll and Hyde, isn't it? It's crazy stuff. In the big games, we look at a totally different animal. And then against the teams that we're meant to break down, we're meant to smash out the way and go on a march, we really struggle. And it's really hard to work out, isn't it? It's really hard to work out whether we are going in the right direction or not. Because, like I say, when you do, you would think winning the big games is the hardest part, right? That's the hardest nut to crack.
Yeah.
But, these tactics where you sit back and absorb quite a lot of pressure, and we have the players to hit them on the break. What do you reckon? What do you make of it at the moment?
Well, I think you have to say this isn't a problem that's independent for Ole Solskjaer, right? I remember even Mourinho had trouble. It was the year before we bought Lukaku, and we think we had like 5 or 6 draws at home to teams in the bottom half.
To 0-0s, wasn't there?
Yeah, and I think it's always tough to break down teams, especially when they come to Old Trafford or they play us and they put 9-10 men behind the ball. But it's just frustrating that the players themselves can't figure it out.
Yeah.
It seems like we put the players on the field to do the job, and the job doesn't necessarily get done.
No, I'm hoping Bruno is going to make a difference to this in terms of breaking down those teams. He seems like a player who will. But you're right, we do have the players, we do have the talent that really should be able to break down those teams. And another weird thing, it still seems that the players are with Ollie. They were all there seems to be a good bond between them and Ollie. So that doesn't seem like the problem. It's a really weird one, Scott. It really is.
It is. Again, I don't think Ole Solskjaer's here for the long term. I think this is his final season.
Yeah.
And I think that we're seeing why, right? That you're right. It is so Jekyll and Hyde that we have the players and the ability to be able to go and beat top 6 teams away from home.
Yeah.
But we don't have the tactical ability to be able to beat bottom 6 teams at home. It's crazy.
Yeah. From my point of view, we've just seen too many bad signs and bad days, leading up to the big games where we have these great moments. There's just too much ammo on the negative side for me to say, right, actually, let's see how we can go with Ollie, because we just seen too many.
Well, let's give it a chance though, because we've just replaced Jesse Lingard or Andreas Pereira in our number 10 position with Bruno Fernandes. And I think that's going to make a pretty big change, as you can see, because given he's your man of the match.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think we've got to give it a couple of months at least and see where it takes us.
We've come this far now. I absolutely agree, Scott. And like I've said, we'd love nothing more than Ollie to really start steering the ship in the real right direction. And if it is to end, that he leaves with a bit of dignity. So only leads on nicely to Mino Raiola. I know you said we can't talk about Pogba anymore, but I'm afraid we have to, Scott. Yeah. Just 20 minutes before the game, he was tweeting out this nonsense about you don't own a player. I mean, it was absolute tosh again from Raiola. Ollie didn't really want to address it after the game. It seems that Raiola, again, is prepping the club, prepping everyone to try and force Pogba out in the summer. And like we said, it's about time this saga ended, isn't it?
He'll go in the summer.
Yeah. I mean, what I will say, Raiola did backtrack a little bit. He went on the radio and he did backtrack on his comments. He also said, I didn't know United were playing, so I didn't know I was tweeting 20 minutes before the game. So after he said that, I knew, well, we know already with Raiola, but I knew to take everything he says in after that with not just a pinch of salt, just to understand that it's a load of rubbish.
Salt, yeah.
Because he knew, if you did not know United were, come on, we're not buying that. If one thing you can say about Raiola, he knows what's going on. He's got his finger on the pulse. He's all over everything. There's no way he did not know that Manchester United were playing Chelsea on that Monday night. That was a load of absolute tosh. But again, not nice comments, insinuating that Pogba and Solskjaer had conversations in the summer that Solskjaer has not really been true to. But as I say, Mino Raiola, you just... he's even firing shots at Gary Neville as well, wasn't he?
He's just a rotten human being, and the less we see him of, the better.
I quite enjoyed Neville's riposte saying I couldn't ask for better birthday wishes from that leech, which was great. Yeah. Before we just move on to the Bruges match, I must say it was lovely to see Roy Keane back in some form. He seems to have mellowed out, and he was great value, I must say.
Fantastic.
Taking Jamie Carragher back to school.
Yeah. How do you not put Giggs in there?
You know what I loved? I'll get to the Giggs Mane thing in a second, but what I loved about Keane was that's why he was our captain. That's why we still love him, because he's still the captain of that team.
Yeah.
He was still talking about all of them as if they're playing next week.
Yeah.
He was defending every single one, even Peter Schmeichel. And with the Giggs Mane thing, Carragher saying he only scored 4 goals. Well, that's fine. Let's play Giggs in a modern formation, in a front three when he had all that gas and all that skill, and see how many goals and assists he gets then. Don't forget Giggsy's running up and down the wing all match, not conserving his energy and not conserving his top speed. You know, after you've done a few sprints, your top speed goes down. Mane is not responsible for a whole wing. He's responsible for a small area of the field, whereas Giggsy, just like Beckham on the other side, were up and down all day long. So I think that was an unfair thing for Carragher to say, and pretty naive, I think, to put Mane in instead of Giggs.
Well, it's really easy for Jamie Carragher to sit there and pick players from either team that he had nothing to do with, right?
Yeah.
And Roy Keane sitting there actually defending the team that he played for. But you know, I hate these combined 11 rubbish. I hate it. It's just a reason to start slagging players off that didn't make it.
And I don't want any Liverpool players alongside ours, thank you very much.
Forget it.
And Keno didn't even want to put Van Dijk in. He said he's only dropping Ronnie Johnson because he picked up too many niggles, which I thought was fantastic.
I was going to say, although a Stam Van Dijk partnership would have been a bit bruising, but are they too similar of players? Are they just
I think they probably would have made it work, but it was great to see Keno on that kind of form, and great to see him not take himself so seriously now, and really being that likable guy that we never really stopped loving, because he just gave us too many good days.
Yeah, I love the guy. I really do.
Yeah, me too. So look, quick turnaround. Ollie was right. It's mental that we're playing on a Monday night when we could have played on a Saturday
or Friday.
Yeah, and then we got a game when we've had a 2-week winter in inverted commas break, and then we've got European game on a Thursday at Bruges, and you just think that's madness. But we've really got a chance now, Scott, to go on a march, finish this season strongly, try and pick up a couple too. What do you think for Bruges? Are we gonna put our strongest lineup up?
I think we definitely need an away goal, given our defence. One thing I'm worried about is us conceding an away goal in Europe and getting knocked out. So I definitely think we have to go there and score. I wouldn't be surprised to see Greenwood starting, if I'm honest. But it's tough to see. Will he go and play the same formation?
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah, I would suspect so. I think after the success, and also in Europe, like you said, we have been solid with that formation. If we can come away with a 1 or 2 goal lead and not concede, then you really would fancy our chances at Old Trafford to keep it tight. At least you might struggle to break them down, but if we've already got that away goal, we should be tidy to be in the hat for the next round.
Yeah, it's massive.
And one more point we have to before we tie up, Scott, is there was monster news broke on Valentine's Day, a treat for everybody, with Manchester City picking up a 2-year ban from all European competition. They will appeal it at the CAS, the Court of Arbitration for Sport, in the summer, so that'll be around June, July, I think. If it stands up, then the 5th place team will now qualify for Europe. What do you think, Scott? Are they going to get away with it, or is this the beginning of the end for those the boys down the road?
Listen, I hope that they get relegated to League 2 and stripped of everything they've ever won. Praying that happens. I don't think it will. But the one thing that can never be taken away is that it's completely tarnished goods.
Yeah.
Everything has to have an asterisk on it.
Yeah.
They've been cooking the books, and it's not just a matter of saying, oh, we've got X amount coming in from here and X amount coming from there. That they're actually really lying about it. And listen, we've all known that the way that their meteoric rise was unfair to everybody else and unfair to clubs who just try and do the right thing. I mean, I'm not maybe talking so much for us, but if you look at Arsenal, they try and run their club the right way, and every year their best player was getting poached by City.
Yeah.
And Arsene Wenger is championing this right now, right? Because they ruined him. They ruined his... Arsene Wenger would have won a lot more premierships if it wasn't for City. They're a bunch of cheats, aren't they? So
they are.
I'm really glad to see that if they don't get punished as much as we want, at least it'll always be in history that these were soiled goods.
Yeah. It would. And would you take the titles back if they take all their titles back and give it to the second place teams? Would you take 2012 back?
Of course I would.
Delete the footage.
Yeah, never happened.
Ban showing it ever again.
Yeah, never happened.
And we can walk off into the sunset, mate.
It's like when Ben Johnson won the 100 meters in 1988, right? And then got caught cheating, and no one ever saw it again. And the world record that he made, never seen again. Yeah. That's what I want.
Yeah. It's great stuff, mate, and they can show us how big a club they are down in Division 2 with all the fans they was talked about back in the day.
But isn't it obvious, though? Isn't it? They're saying that they've been getting full houses at Champions League gates. They're saying that they made 120 million from Champions League revenue, and it's ridiculous. They get 14 fans there for group stage games.
We've all got eyes, haven't we, Scott? Dear me. But yeah, it was a lovely treat, and it was lovely to see. Hopefully, they don't pass a few bucks to the CAS. Hopefully they're a bit more strong than that. And of course, we're waiting for the Premier League to react, because at the moment it's just a UEFA ban for a couple of years. The only thing I'll say, Scott, is that if we finished 5th, qualify for the Champions League, then do you judge Ollie on the fact that we've finished outside the Champions League places, really, what we were meant to be going for? Or do you judge the fact that we've actually got in?
I don't know. I mean, he said last week that our transfer targets for the summer won't be hindered if we don't make Champions League football. So he's prepping us already for not making it. I don't want to hear that.
No.
I really don't. Mourinho came into Tottenham when they were, 13th? And he's dragged them up the table, showing nothing but just grit and resilience. I don't want to hear this. Oh, well, our summer's not going to be hampered if we're still rubbish at the end of the season. I don't want to hear it. I want to hear more. I just want to have our manager have more drive. Can you imagine Fergie saying that?
No,
it's embarrassing.
It is, but look, we've had a great night on Monday.
We have,
and there were positive signs. We've gone through the thing with Ollie, as we said before. So let's see if we can just finish this season with a bang and make decisions in the summer like we should have been doing. Obviously, when we signed him full time and all the rest of it.
Yeah, at least we can keep our passports out the drawer next season.
Yeah, and look, we've got the cups to play for. And if we can sneak into the Champions League as well, we will be able to pull some really good players in to add to this squad. We've already got Bruno Fernandes in, so the future's looking a bit more rosy than it was at least a few months ago. Thanks for listening again, Reds. We'll be back on Friday after the Bruges game. Remember to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for joining me again, Scott.
Thank you.
Cheerio, Reds.
Ta-ra.